Welcome to TLC for the Soul podcast, where soul meets spirit. You have entered into sacred space. I'm your host, TAMI Chambers, and I'm here to help you shine. Now let's get going on this podcast journey. Hello, friends. Hello. Hello, and welcome to Bringers of the Light Sunday, where we got something very interesting coming up with Flying Potion this week. So if you're new here, welcome. Settle in. Ooh, as I wrap us all in love light and light love, inviting in the guides who overlight TLC for the soul, Archangel Michael, Archangel Metatron, the Pleiadians, and a host of TLC for the soul guides. Oh, joining me here, meeting up with us on Bringers of the Light Sunday. If you haven't checked out our Wrapped in Love, Light, and Light Love Redbubble stuff, our merch, check that out. I'll post some more pictures of it because, I don't know, it just looks fun. I'm actually working on my next one. My Body Love sigil wear. So that's next. But if you're new here, welcome, settle in. We have a cat. We have my watch cat gracing our presence, but we also have the dog. Is that her? Yeah, she takes over my chair and then I can't sit there. So, and she's way too big for it, but she stuffs herself in it's mainly where I do my meditations, in my chair. But, what is going on today? This is our time to catch up and hang out and do all that magical goodiness. We have the next chapter from Flying Potion. Now, yesterday I dropped chapters 15, 16, and 17 about Dakar's new assignment. We kind of left it on a cliffhanger, and we did a live circle reading from Albie Chalmers' pop-up Christmas shop. So it was quite fun if you want to take a listen to that. And it will kind of get you caught up, but not all the way, because this next chapter that we're reading today is still about 3 ahead of where I left the audiobook chapters at, but it is super, I don't know what. It's very interesting. It's very encoded. And I will share more about that in just a second. What else is going on around here at Mystic Gables? It snowed the other day, like about 7 inches, I guess, of snow. So it's all white out there. It's going to be, we had a little bit of a warming trend. We had some negative temps over the past 3 or 4 days. And now we're back up, I think, into the 20s and 30s. Yay. That's good for a while. Maybe some of this snow will melt off because our town here is absolutely amazing. The infrastructure is amazing. And when it snows, they have emergency snow routes in the town that have to always be kept clear. And so it snowed at night, all night long, and they worked all night long. And I know because their little sand, salt, gravel pit is down, like there's the house, then it drops down through the woods, and then there's the river, and then on the other side of the river is like their little sand gravel pit. So all night long, I can hear the dump trucks and the sand trucks and all that like filling up with the supplies of the sand. So they worked all night long. So by the time I woke up, even these streets, like in front of the house, the big plow, the giant plow had already plowed them out. By the time I went out, most of the streets had already been plowed. And with 24 hours, the whole town had already been, like every street had already been plowed. The city does almost all the city sidewalks with their snow blower. The parks had all been plowed out and everything, with the exception of the medicine wheel, because it's private property. It's owned by the college, and they don't plow it and they don't do the sidewalks. So unless you feel like really going in deep with the snow, you can't get up there right now. I was going to go in with the car because I have like a setting on my car that's like deep snow and mud, and I have a Subi that's all-wheel drive. And then I thought, do I really, if possible, want to get stuck up here? No, because there's nobody to come dig me out but me, and I didn't have a shovel, and I was like, just forget it. And then the dog and I tried to walk the path up yesterday, and we made it up, but it's about this deep, And if you're a person walking by yourself, you know, that's not as bad. But I have a 70-pound dog tethered around my waist. That's how I have to work. I can't hold a leash in my hand. It's just, she's too, you know, she's too reactive and too crazy, jumpy, and, you know, running after foxes and squirrels and all that. So I have like a big old like weightlifting belt, and I loop her leash in there, and that's how I walk with her. And then her leash, I made it extra long. I tethered with mountain climbing, what are those things? The things that hold the ropes, and tethered 2 leashes together because I don't want her so close to me. And so she's about 10 feet out, I guess, on 2 leashes, 10 to 12 feet out. But it creates like a ballast, right? Because if she runs in the snow, anyway, it's quite crazy. So she's gotten a little bit more calm over time, but it was actually like Santa Claus pulling a sled, because when I can't go fast, she like goes fast on the leash, and then I'm like, I'm just being pulled up the hill. But because the snow's deep, man, I was out of breath at the time I reached the top of the hill, which many of you guys have seen before in pictures that I posted. She wanted to go the whole trail, and I went a little bit farther, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is going to be hard to get back through all this. I would say it was maybe like ankle deep on the sidewalk, but I was already getting tired, so we turned around. So maybe one person like me just walking up there by myself with my staff or whatever, you know, that might be an easier trip up there. And I've got ice cleats. Like, I had to switch my boots out. This is like just a hanging out part before we get into the chapter. But I was gonna lay out, what I should have done is laid out all the gear we have to put on to go out in the cold. Maybe I'll just take a picture of that. It's a lot to get ready to go out. Sometimes if it's a certain temperature below the door, she only goes out for like a few minutes, and then she'll come back in. She does not like the cold. But yeah, we kind of slogged up there, and yeah, we kind of slogged up there. Anyway, what else? What else do we want folks to know or play with? It's a holiday week for many this week ahead. Many of you are taking vacation time or out doing things with family, and I really don't know what the chapter is saying. So I did a live on Friday for Fabulous Fridays. I did it as a live. Many of you watched it after the fact. And I'm going to start doing more lives and leave time at the end of those. The way I'm going to do it, the way that I think is going to work best for me, is to do my regular shows that I would typically do as lives, and then leave time at the end if you guys want me to pull cards or ask Spirit any questions on your behalf, and all of that good stuff. So, you know, if you're not subscribed to the channel, turn your notifications on, because I don't know when these lives are, and I don't feel like being held to a certain time, because I like Spirit to just tell me like, let's go live now. And so, you know, I'm not going to be like posting in advance, like I'm going live at 11 o'clock or whatever. Like, if you're meant to be there, you'll be there. So it was Fabulous Fridays the week ahead, and the main card that came out for this week ahead energy was telepathy. So if you haven't seen that, it's a card reading, you can check it out. But we add on to that, and this is a huge, different, whole other thing. I think this is key code activations here in what I'm going to read to you. It's a highly encoded chapter, and it's very interesting that 2 of my book series are converging here in this book. So there's something happening in the astrals, in the energies, to bring 2 things. Oh, I'm getting big chills. To bring 2 things together. Is that people? Is that places? It's people. It could be places. It could be situations. It's something bringing 2 things together after a long period apart. So, you know, listen to that. I always say, listen to these things with your magical senses. You know, you can listen to this as just a fun story, like what's going on with that, See, I was going to say Powerball. It's bringing together a book that I've been writing. I wrote for a long time. We got very far into it, and then the channeling, and I was going to release it. And then Spirit said, this isn't finished yet. And I set it aside, and, it's converging in this book, which I don't know if you guys doing the scavenger hunt found all 3 of your scavenger hunt items. Some of you pinged me with that you had found, I think, 2. I found 2 as well. One of them I've already posted about. The second one was more of an energetic, because Spirit said it wasn't always necessarily going to be a physical item. And for me, the second was like an energy shield being lifted from my auric field to clear away like a new pathway. So it was more of a gift than necessarily a key. And so I didn't really feel like there was anything to post about there. And I'm still not really sure okay, so this, you'll see in this chapter, but this is my 3rd item, is this chapter is leading to a gift, which for me is my 3rd scavenger hunt item. And it's still ambiguous what that is right now. I think it's a lot of things that I want carrying, why wouldn't they, right? Carrying forward into 2025. So the spirit guide, because we didn't pull a spirit guide on Friday, but the spirit guide that wants to come out of the box of spirit guides, and I'm not even going to intuitively pull because he's been calling to me now, and we've worked with him quite a bit. He even has a book out there. They're all my ebooks. So I'm an author, artist, master, healer. All of my ebooks are free to read. Google Books, Apple Books, Barnes and Noble, Smashwords. The links to everything I talk about are in the show notes, and you can go download. I have over 15 published books, soon to be 16 with Flying Potion here, and various book series. And this book is from our Bringers of the Light. There he is. I knew he was going to be right there. Bringers of the Light book series. But the guide that's been wanting to come out this week is the Mist Vamp, Bria. Now, when the Mist Vamp comes out, anything is possible. Let me read his description, but he has his own book. Is it called The Mist Vamp? It's the Spirit Guides of Tessa Locke series. If you go to my Smashwords page, link in my notes, it'll show all my book series because I have quite a few. And The Mist Vamp is part of the Spirit Guides of Tessa Locke book series. But let's read his description as written by the Spirit Guide auctions that I used to go to. But I'm really excited to see the Mist Vamp. Okay, so her description, this is the girl that runs the Spirit Guide auctions. These don't have an earthy feel, but more of a flowing water and airy feel. When I connect with them, I feel as if I'm in a dream. They flow in a current of fog or mist and can even shift into mist at times. They will help you to sharpen your powers of observation and cloak yourself so that you don't stand out so much. They also have a wonderful gift of helping you to tune into and connect with all that is around you in a peripheral sense. For those of you who are empathic, this is different than that. It's not an overwhelming feeling, but more of a oneness with all. It really heightens your psychic awareness. And we have telepathy coming through. We're recording this on 12/22. I've been getting a lot of spirit guides kind of not pinging me like, hi, I'm here. And I've heard some telepathic messages from some of you listening. And it's going to be that kind of week, I think. So for me, when the Mist Vamp shows up, it is a huge, like almost like running away with the fae kind of energy. And he can, I say he because it feels like a very masculine energy, this particular Mist Vamp, Bria. And you can call out to him, you can use him, you can call him in for a visit. We have yet to do a spirit guide auction here on the channel. I really want to do one because I've got a ton of spirit guides coming through for folks that want to, you know, have their person and be with their person. This is Bengal spice tea. It's very good from Celestial Seasonings. When the Mist Vamp comes in, it's like pure potentiality. Like anything can happen, but anything that happens feels very like divinely guided, divinely orchestrated, divinely timed. It feels very like, you know, the Mist of Avalon parting kind of thing. Connect with Bria, connect with the Mist Vamp and see, you know, what he brings in for you. But I think that they're coming into, because this week is is, like we said, the next 2 weeks is typically, a lot of people take this time off. A lot of people take the last 2 weeks in the corporate world where I worked. Nobody was around the last 2 weeks of the year. Everyone took vacation, from like now through to the beginning of January. No one was in the office. And the only reason you would want to be there, I guess, is if you were some diehard who really wanted to be in the office. But nobody was there. Like, projects didn't move forward. Like, nothing really happened. And so if you wanted to just be there, I guess you could. But I never did. I always was gone. I feel like there could be some light language coming in. All right. So for those of you that are newer here, you might be like, what in the heck just happened to Flying Potion? We were talking about Abigail and Dakar and Polly and Scratchy and Mindy Smatherson and Benjamin Black from Black Tongue Properties, and we were in Rockaway Point. But all of my books that I write are channeled via automatic writing. I don't plan books. I don't make book outlines. I don't do any of that. My spiritual gifts are all open and active, and clairaudience and channeling is very, very strong for me. It's how I do pretty much everything here at TLC for the soul. Words I write, stuff I do, it's pretty much working with my guides to channel that through. And so when I write books, I just sit down in sacred space, and I'll say, like, I'll create a sacred circle, and I'll bring in, I have a etheric creative team that's worked with me for a really long time, and they hold space for me. They hold protected space, and then I bring in my friends from Bringers of the Light, Rockaway Point. That's all I say. And I say their names, and they come in, and then I just hear in my head, like, chapter 20, blah, blah, blah. And I just start hearing the words, and I just start typing them down until the spirit says they're done. And then we close that session out. That's how all my books are done. I have a nonfiction book that's done the same way. It's like an 18-month workbook journey for you. That's free to read too. Eat Like a Lemurian. It's a big one. I kind of have to make a little bit of a time commitment with that one. But every now and then my books take on a twist, and we go down this rabbit hole. And that is my book, Powerball. It's very highly encoded. It's not out there yet. It's almost done. But it's very highly encoded, and you can read it as a quote unquote fantasy, like magical book, like in the fantasy magical genre, if you want to be like 3D, and you could say that's what it is. But if you're more, in the 5D, or you're more like tapping in to energy like we do here on the show, because we don't do anything that's only 3D. We don't just write a book. We write like magical prose with incantations and spell work and activation codes and DNA sequence upgrades and all these things that come through in the light language of the story. And so all of a sudden here in the middle of Flying Potion, we take this weird flip, and some stuff comes in. So I will read it as we always do. Listen with your magical senses if you want to, which means you're opening yourself up to whatever key codes, fire letter upgrades, anything that's available to you coming through this, any visions, any messages from your guides. That's what this time is meant to be about. And then I will go in when I'm done reading the chapter, and I will pull out any metaphors that I think are meant for the collective, for you guys, for all of us, and talk about how that pertains to the week ahead. All right. So this is, let me start just a tiny bit into chapter 19. So at the very end of chapter 19, Abigail and Dakar having like a little tete-a-tete outside Abigail's house. And that's where I'm going to start. It says, before they could celebrate this auspicious time, a cry went up from the bungalow next door. Mrs. O'Malley's daughter came running out of the house, frantic and crying. It's happened. It's finally happened, she cried. What happened? Dakar said, feeling a weird sensation around him. It's like the Miss Vamp. They've taken Mother, Cassandra O'Malley said with distress. The old ones have come and taken Mother. We have to get her back. She's the key to Madrigal. Chapter 20, this is one we don't focus on. The key opens up another dimension. Mrs. O'Malley, Sandra to be exact, wandered up and down and back and forth. She had to resurrect herself from this location. She didn't have it in her to be out here right now. She wanted back to her daughter and back home by the ocean. The key to Madrigal was firmly planted in her heart space, and so would remain until the time it was needed. Well, Sandra thought, that time was now. Ever since Linnaeus McGee planted it there so long ago that she almost couldn't tell why he had done so. It was another time and another place. Sandra now was someone else back then, and that old Sandra had made a wish to return home from the place where she had been trapped. An old tower stood tall with battlements around it. The soldiers of the Badlands fighting to keep her and her family safe. But safe from what? Sandra, who was known as Bethany back then, was the heir of Madrigal, a magical installation deep inside the Badlands. And she had a mark on her that shone through when she was happy and disappeared when she was sad. This mark shone itself when one day a magical being showed up at the castle gates. This being, who we know as Linnaeus McGee, held a deep magic and a cunning secret. Get the key to Madrigal and save the Badlands from itself. Now Linnaeus had been told that the key was a person, but he didn't quite know who that person was. The only thing he knew was that a magical mark would appear on the forehead of said person when they were very happy. So Linnaeus had traveled the Badlands up and down, making a stupid fool of himself in front of aristocracy and common folk, doing all he could to make them smile. Many, many Badlands folk had cracked a smile at his inane jokes and silly backsprings. Dances, jigs, and more were performed as he made an arse of himself, all with the intent of getting the key of Madrigal to display a magical mark. Then, on the 22nd year of this inane quest, he came upon the Castle McIntyre. Castle McIntyre was the home of Baron and Baroness McIntyre of the Dragon clan of the Acropolis. Deep magics surrounded the castle, but Linnaeus was able to decode them all with the help of his Powerball. And now he stood waiting in the court hallway as the court-in-waiting agent took his request to the Baron and Baroness. An afternoon of debauchery, drinks, jokes, puns, riddles, and his illustrious dancing in exchange for a room. For how long he couldn't say. But he would know at the end of his quest whether the key of Madrigal was in residence here. And if he found said person bearing the mark, well, then what? Well, old Linnaeus McGee had that all planned out. But to suffice it to say, he won't share that here now, lest you let on to the Baron and Baroness what the true intention of his plans are. So for now, you will also partake in Linnaeus McGee and his afternoon of debauchery, drinks, jokes, puns, riddles, and his illustrious dancing in exchange for a room. For now you will bear the inanity of it all in exchange for deeper magic on your quest. Oh gosh, okay. What? Right? What is happening there? What in the world just happened to Rockaway Point? Where the heck are we now? So I find this very curious because, and I'm going to share, when I wrote the end of chapter 19 with the key to Madrigal, I was like, Madrigal, it sounds so familiar to me. It's somewhere else in one of my books. And luckily I have, one of the first drafts of all my books are written in Google Keep. And so I could do a search and it pulled up my book, Powerball. And I was like, what is Madrigal? Well, Linnaeus McGee came out first in my book, Powerball. He's a old fairy, like the old ways, very old, ancient, almost like the she energy. Oh, and he's working with this Powerball, which in the book Powerball, we still haven't really even found what the Powerball really all does. So the fact that these two books are converging together, I find that very interesting. And I haven't been writing in Powerball for a very long time. And this Linnaeus McGee quest of 22 freaking years. So something is coming together for you in this week ahead. In these hours after you listen to this, something's converging of two things coming together that haven't been together in a really long time. Now, that could be family members, right? Because we're saying it's the holiday week. I mean, take these metaphors as they apply to you. But there's also, I think, there's something deeper happening. They just keep saying in the astrals to make all this happen. That's part of a bigger, like, magical quest. So we meet Mrs. O'Malley. Where the heck is she? She's in some sort of like alternate dimension. When we say the key, the chapters, the key opens up another dimension. And that's what I think happens when the Miss Vamp comes into you. I always feel like I'm in like a dream sequence or something. Like, I mean, you have to be grounded and go about your day, right? You have to get your 3D stuff done. I mean, we're not talking about we're constantly wandering around in a dream sequence. But when I can, I'm like hanging out with a Miss Vamp, and I'm like, what do you want to show me? What do you want me to see? What is, oh, you've got time this week ahead. I think you've got time this week ahead to where you can kind of play those kind of games, right? Now, this key to Madrigal, I don't know. The Powerball itself is a very highly encoded book. It's a longer book. It's novel length. A lot of these Bringers of the Light books are shorter, more like short story kind of length. But Powerball's a longer book. And there's a lot of key codes. There's a lot of like marks of this and that and the other on people. But Sandra, Bethany, whoever she is now, so there may be some past life stuff coming up, because we've got Sandra, who in this altered dimension remembers herself as Bethany back then, as this heir of Madrigal, deep inside the Badlands. And the Badlands is kind of the setting for my book Powerball. Key to Madrigal, saving the Badlands from itself. And so Linnaeus is looking for her. He doesn't know it's her, but he's now. I think the key, it's very funny, that it only shows up when you're happy and it disappears when you're sad. I think there's a lot of riddles too in here, like what's something that only appears when you're happy and disappears when you're sad? Is it in your aura? Is it, I don't know. Is it your connection to someone or something? Is it your ability to manifest? I don't know. And so what's being offered up is this afternoon. And I asked, is it multiple afternoons or is it only one? And Spirit's like, it's one. This afternoon of drinks and jokes. So maybe that's like Christmas Day or Christmas Eve. I don't know. Or something coming up this week ahead for you where you get this afternoon where you can just like cut loose and, whatever. This illustrious dancing that this Fae does, that Linnaeus does. And then what happens if he finds the key to Madrigal? And he's not going to share that now. I like what it says, for now you will bear the inanity of it all in exchange for deeper magic on your quest. I don't know. But chapter 21, I always channel in the next chapter title, and it says the key reveals itself. So that's the following. That would be for next Sunday, or whenever we do Bringers of the Light Sunday next. Anything else we want to say here? But suffice it to say, yeah. So is there something I need to activate? Yeah, there's a little, okay, so there's two things happening. There is some activations I'm going to do through some light language, but there's also this other energy showing up this week, a little bit of trickstery, kind of coyote energy in the spirit world. I feel it happening in the spirit world, kind of like, come play with us, come into the magical pine forest and see what's here. Lots of like, it feels very like a Harry Potter-ish kind of week. Maybe some of you are like doing like a, what is that? Like the whole thing of Harry Potter. That's a long quest, right? All of the shows. I own them all on digital. So, maybe something like that. Like you're just going to sit down and do a whole season of something. But I feel like the spirit the other day, in terms of signs, and every morning I go down. I have curtains, not blinds. I don't like really mini blinds, but so I have curtains downstairs. And every morning I go down. It's my little, ritual. And Nayoka and I have decorated all the windows we always have the windows decorated. Now, even when it's not Christmas, we have like what we call our tribbles. We have these colored little like poofy balls in all the windows in different formations and stuff. And we have like Christmas balls hanging down and all sorts of stuff in the windows. People that walk by can see like sparkly, tinkly stuff because that's what Mystic Gables is. Mystic Gables is a sacred sanctuary for spirit beings and, any bringers of the light, I call in and say that want respite here in exchange for, you don't just come and like rest and do nothing, in exchange for being here and helping me keep the vibration of this little corner of the globe of my part of the grids and all that high. So there's some of you I think that do come here in spirit a lot, and you're more than welcome here as long as you're in reciprocity, you're keeping your energy clear, you're keeping your vibration high, and you're helping us to help this sacred temple, what I call the Mystic Gables and her lands, to keep the spirit high here. And so a lot of animals come through here. So many animals come through. So many spirit beings are here on this property. And the other day I was opening the curtains, and I swear I got surprised because I opened the curtain and not more than like 3 or 4 feet from me was a huge buck. Oh my God, he was eating. I lay out all around deer corn and stuff for the squirrels and the deer. We have rabbits that are here. Sometimes the fox come up, but the buck was like, it was huge, right in front of the window. When I opened the curtain, I was like, wow. And the buck for me the stag is a huge sign of like the divine masculine. But watch for signs you're seeing. But I do feel like there is this little bit of like, from the spirit world, like, come on, let's go play. Pan blowing his flute and being like, just run away with me into the woods, which is my kind of life. Like, I just want to like run away in the woods all the time, right? I only come out for meals and stuff. Okay, so the light language is coming through. So if you've never heard light language before, this is like a form of like, I'll call it like verbal Reiki. So I'm not necessarily like holding my hands and doing it. It's like coming through, and the frequencies of the beings of the light language that come through vary depending on, who they are, why they're here and all that. And so I do a lot of dragon light language. I do a lot of fairy light language, a lot of starseed light language. But you can pretty much do light language from any being out there. It's just a sound frequency that's emanating like from their collective auric frequency. It's not like anything, I don't know, I guess because I've been doing it for a long time. So, okay, shush. All right. So this is an activation. It's going to be different for each one of you. And I think what it's going to do is help you get into this spirit of this season and help you kind of release some of the bounds you placed around yourself, because your heart wants to play and make love light. And in order to do so, you kind of have to be in that like happy-go-lucky energy where it's like, well, anything can happen now. If the misvamp shows up at my door, if my person shows up at my, like you have to, and I think that's like this magical manifesting energy coming in to support you. So the best way to receive this light language is not to be moving about the cabin, but to be stationary, so that it comes in and down through your entire field and chakra system, and then grounds itself down through your Earth Star chakra. Whatever activations you need, whatever upgrades, DNA sequencing, whatever it is that comes through here, I'll explain it kind of when I'm done, but it might be different for each one of you. Let's take a deep breath together. Take a deep breath. A lot of that was Pleiadian. There's a lot of star code upgrades. Oh, they said those are mission sequence initiations. DNA sequencing, file packets, opening up for the next leg of your mission into 2025. That makes sense to me. Here's a little bit more. This is a blessing. So that, that was a blessing from who I call my Divine Resources team. Not necessarily, they're not specific to me, but the members of that team are Archangel Ariel. This is all for Divine Resources. Wealth, health, karma, and prana. Great wealth, great health, great karma, and great prana were the blessings that were just bestowed on you through the higher realms. Archangel Ariel, Archangel Chamuel, Archangel Haniel, Goddess Lakshmi, Lord Ganesh, and then some of my own personal guides from my box of spirit guides. Tilia, she's an orange creamsicle fae. Ramon, he's a manifestation djinn. Ainor, he is an elven djinn. And Hashani, she's a golden enlightenment person. So, divine blessings bestowed upon you on whatever this next leg of your journey is. My guides are complete. I am complete. We're wishing you a beautiful, holy holiday week. And we will see you and talk to you again soon. Take care.
This episode has been brought to you by Frolicking Fraulein. Interactions with Frolicking Fraulein could bring on magical, mystical euphoria, dizziness, lightheadedness, sudden feelings of losing all sense of 3D reality.
Oh no, someone's been a naughty Frolicking Fraulein.